People don't blame the loudest in the room. They blame the one who sees through the noise. In every broken group dynamic, there's one silent threat: the man who doesn't need the group. He doesn't follow the unspoken rules, doesn't bow to false leaders, doesn't participate in the fake harmony. That man is the Sigma. And in weak circles, he always becomes the target. Why? Because he reflects what others are too afraid to admit. His independence exposes their insecurity. His silence unmasks their chaos. His refusal to conform triggers their fear of being irrelevant. So they turn him into the problem, the scapegoat, the threat, the reason everything's wrong. But the truth is simple. He didn't break their system. He just refused to be controlled by it. Let's break down 10 truths behind why weak circles always target the Sigma and why he never stays their victim. 1. He's immune to groupthink, and that terrifies them. The man who thinks for himself always threatens those who only think in echoes. In insecure circles, consensus isn't a goal, it's a requirement. They don't want individuals. They want clones who nod, clap, and agree. But the Sigma male is allergic to forced agreement. He doesn't need to challenge others, his existence is the challenge. The group begins to notice. He's not laughing at their jokes. He's not jumping into their drama. He's not moved by their status games. And suddenly his quiet becomes the loudest sound in the room. They can't understand how someone so detached holds more power than their loudest voice. So they do what insecure people do. They isolate him, paint him as cold, distant, dangerous. They call him a problem because they can't control him. 2. His silence screams louder than their noise. You don't need a microphone when your silence makes people uncomfortable. The Sigma doesn't need to shout over anyone. In weak circles where shouting is misread as strength and constant chatter is mistaken for relevance, his silence is disruptive. It's not a retreat, it's a stance. He doesn't need noise to assert dominance. His presence alone demands attention, and his silence becomes the storm no one is prepared for. In environments where egos are inflated by applause and validation, the Sigma's disinterest in being heard unsettles the fragile. He's not ignoring them, he's observing, processing, and deciding. While others scramble for attention, he sits in calm defiance, exposing the desperation beneath their loud facades. His silence isn't passive, it's calculated judgment. It strips away the masks, forcing others to squirm under the pressure of their own insecurities. The room gets louder, trying to fill the void he creates, but it's too late. They start projecting. They call him arrogant, aloof, emotionally unavailable. But what they're really screaming is, we can't control him. And they're right, they never could. 3. He exposes insecurity without saying a word. When you can't manipulate him, you start blaming him. The Sigma doesn't react the way weak minds expect. He doesn't take the bait. He doesn't over-explain. He doesn't seek approval. That alone shatters fragile egos. When someone isn't controllable, insecure people feel threatened. They start to gossip, nitpick, twist narratives. Not because he did anything, but because he didn't respond the way their script required. The moment he becomes a mirror, they can't stand their own reflection, so they call it his fault. Every time. 4. He's not afraid of exile. He's already at peace with it. You can't use exile as punishment against someone who's already chosen solitude. Group rejection is a weapon, but not against the Sigma. While others fear isolation like it's a death sentence, the Sigma treats solitude as his sanctuary. He doesn't crave invitations, approval, or applause. So when the weak circle attempts their usual punishment, social exile, it crumbles on impact. They assume they're stripping him of value, of connection, of relevance. But in reality, they're just relieving him of nonsense, of mediocrity, of groupthink and emotional landmines disguised as friendships. He doesn't shrink in solitude. He expands. He regains clarity. He returns to the place where his power has always lived inside his own mind. What they mistake as banishment is actually freedom. And when he finally walks away, they expect relief. But instead, what stays behind is tension. Heavy, suffocating. They look around and realize that without him, their dysfunction echoes louder. The gossip feels cheaper. The hierarchy feels hollow. The silence he leaves behind doesn't bring peace, it brings exposure. 5. He refuses to be gaslit into compliance. You don't convince a Sigma he's crazy, you confirm you're manipulative. Weak circles rely on group pressure to keep everyone in line. They build illusions, craft false narratives, and expect everyone to recite the same script. They rewrite reality to serve their comfort and twist your honesty into threat. If you challenge the lie, they don't debate you, they isolate you. They gaslight you with confidence, not because they're right, but because they're afraid you'll expose what they deny. It's not about truth, it's about keeping control. And the moment you step outside their echo chamber, you become the enemy. But the Sigma doesn't fold to the pressure. He's not here to fit in, he's here to see things clearly. He notices the subtle digs, the manipulative smiles, the collective denial, and he doesn't argue. He refines his distance, sharpens his perspective. When he leaves, it's not dramatic, it's surgical, clean, quiet, and irreversible. They'll call it betrayal, call it arrogance. But what they're really witnessing is a man reclaiming his peace. They call it cold. He calls it clarity. 6. He makes people accountable without saying a word. Some people hate you simply for not joining in their dysfunction. The Sigma doesn't need to call anyone out. His behavior alone is enough. When he doesn't engage in gossip, when he refuses to play favorites, when he walks away instead of retaliating, it unsettles people. Because now they're left with their own reflection, their own choices, their own pettiness. He never pointed fingers. He didn't have to. His refusal to sink made everyone else feel the weight of their own depth. 7. He can't be bribed with status or approval. The most dangerous man is the one who doesn't need what others use to control. Weak groups operate like cults' currency is approval, and status is weaponized. Everything revolves around who claps the loudest, who conforms the fastest, who obeys without questioning. But the Sigma doesn't want a seat at their table. He's building his own with zero need for validation. He's not moved by titles, likes, or fake friendships. The usual bait social clout, empty praise, or shallow inclusion falls flat. They can't bribe him, can't blackmail him with exile, can't bait him with status. Because he's already whole, already grounded, already decided. You can't control someone who doesn't want your reward. You can't scare someone who's not afraid to walk alone. You can't seduce someone who's unmoved by your mass. So they panic. Because if their status doesn't impress him, then what are they really holding? It's not leadership. It's not respect. It's illusion, and the Sigma sees right through it. 8. He doesn't break. He detaches. They expected a breakdown. He gave them silence. The goal is always the same: push the Sigma to react, to defend, to fight back. But he doesn't play their game. He doesn't spiral. He disconnects. When the pressure mounts, when the accusations fly, when the whispers turn loud, the Sigma simply exits. Not to escape, but to evolve. And that silence, that void, it drives them mad because they never got closure, never got a win, never got to watch him fall. They only saw the door close. 9. His very presence feels like a threat. They fear him not for what he says, but for what he doesn't need to say. The Sigma walks into a room and the hierarchy shifts. Not because he demands power, but because he doesn't beg for it. That confidence, it's not loud, it's not flashy, it's untouchable. Weak people sense it and they hate it because deep down, they know they're performing. He's not. So instead of facing that truth, they target him, mock him, isolate him, all because his calm presence disrupts their entire illusion. 10. He leaves and everything falls apart. They blamed him for everything until he was gone, and nothing got better. At first, pushing him out feels like a win. They bond over blaming him, celebrate his absence, but time exposes the lie. The drama doesn't stop. The dysfunction deepens. The tension still lingers. And suddenly they realize he wasn't the problem. He was the balance. The scapegoat they exiled was the only one who didn't play games, the one who didn't feed the fire, the one who absorbed the chaos silently, just to keep things stable. Now he's gone, and the group is still broken because the real issues never left with him. On a final note, they needed a villain. He needed peace. Everyone got what they wanted except them. The Sigma male doesn't stay where he's tolerated. He stays where he's respected. And when weak circles try to make him the scapegoat, they write their own downfall. He won't explain. He won't defend. He won't fight to stay. Because the Sigma understands something they never will leaving isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the ultimate power move. You can only scapegoat the strong until they stop carrying your chaos. After that, you're left with the mess and the silence of the man who walked away and never looked back.